The Curious Incident of the Dog in the Nighttime by Asmi, Mohammed, Star, and Yuto.
The main protagonist of this novel is Christopher Boone, a 15-year-old boy with Asperger's syndrome. He has a photographic memory and is gifted in the fields of mathematics and science, but is not very talented with the art of emotions. He lives with his father in Swindon, England, where he goes to a school for children with special needs. He hates the colors brown and yellow and loves lists, schedules, and patterns. He decides to investigate the murder of a beloved neighborhood dog and goes on a terrifying journey to learn the truth about it.
Summary.
One night in Swindon, a dog called Wellington is murdered with a garden fork. The main character, Christopher, is very curious regarding this incident, and so he decides to conduct an investigation to find out the murderer, and he kept all his findings in a book. As he progresses, he discovered that his father lied to him about the passing of his mother. Moreover, Christopher realizes that his father is the one who murdered Wellington and is really terrified. After this, Christopher decides to go to London all by himself to look for his mother. He finds his mother and then decides to live with her. In the end, they return to Swindon and he then attempts to forgive his father.
I feel that Christopher is a symbol for logic in a world full of emotions. He applies logic and mathematics to all situations and often describes emotions and expressions to be a difficult puzzle. In today's world, most of us tend to think about our feelings and the feelings of the people around us before turning to face our problems logically. I think this is because, as a society, we learn to care a lot about how we are perceived to be, rather than learn to deal with our problems head on without too many thoughts concerning our emotions. This is what Christopher's behavior is like, and since most of us are used to the traditional mindset, we find Christopher's outlook on life and his behavior to be odd, even though he technically makes more sense than we often do. I think this is why I found him strange at first and could not understand how to relate to him at all. Now that I know more about him, I can definitely relate to him as I understand the conflict there is between him and society and how he rebels against it in his own special way. I often see myself thinking about things in the same way and being considered abnormal for doing so.
I think that Christopher is a very good person who follows the rules and refrains from doing what's wrong. I don't like Christopher very much, but I don't hate him either. I don't like him because he isn't very open-minded and he has very fixed ideas and opinions. He's very stubborn and he believes that he is right in what he thinks and that everyone else around him is wrong. Yet, I can't hate him because I know it's not his fault he was born with his mental illness. Because of this, what I feel towards him is pity. I feel that I couldn't connect with Christopher and relate to him as much as I do with other protagonists. As much as I tried to put myself in his shoes, I couldn't, and his shoes just didn't fit. This is probably because of how different we are. He thinks very logically and in black and white. He believes that justice is more important than mercy. Well, I think that I'm more open-minded and forgiving. This novel helped me realize this about myself. I felt as disconnected to Christopher as he was to everyone around him. Yet, I think that Christopher helped me become a more empathetic person, since by the end of the book, despite all our differences, I could connect with him a little better than I did at the beginning, and I started to see his world through his eyes, although my vision was still a little blurry.
I think that Christopher is special as he has Asperger's syndrome and he thinks logically unlike the others. He believes that everything can be divided into either good or bad. I don't dislike him as I feel sympathetic to him that he is judged by the others, but I also won't support him as he has completely different point of view from me. I don't really feel connected with him because my values and beliefs are totally different from his. For example, he conducts an investigation to find out who the murderer of the dog is because he thinks the death of the dog makes a great impact on his life, and he wants to find out the murderer because he thinks the murder is really wrong. However, if I am in his shoes, I would feel sad about the dog, but I would simply just stand aside and do nothing because the death of the dog doesn't make a significant impact on my life, and it might be dangerous to have further contact with the dog. This shows that I am a person who's shaped by my own experiences, and I only do things which are beneficial to me, and I don't take risks. After reading the book, Christopher has changed my view on people with Asperger's syndrome. I realize that they also have their own thoughts, it's just they are thinking differently from us.
I interpreted Christopher as I felt he was unique and not similar to others, since he was born with autism and he suffered from not being able to understand others' emotions and feelings. But I think he's a nice person because he still listens to what people say to him. I think I genuinely felt sad and sorry for what he had to go through. Things like his neighbor's dog Wellington being murdered, his own father lying to him and saying that his mother was dead when he was young, even though later in the novel he finds out that she actually is alive, but living in a different place. I would also feel terrified, probably not be able to stay calm, not knowing what is the correct thing to do at that specific situation. But Christopher chose to run away from his father and wanted to live with his mother because he could not believe his father, who was always by his side and helped him to grow up, would kill and lie about the truth about his own mother. If I was in Christopher's position, I probably would try to go and get help from my friends who is trustworthy and would talk and discuss about the conflict in depth. It affected my life and thoughts significantly. It changed how I think of people and learned that every one of us, including myself, has things that we don't want other people to know and want to hide them. And when people lie, they will always be found and caught as time goes past. And as I think about it, I now feel that when I used to lie to people, either it is a big or a small lie, they maybe were already caught and I did not even notice, and they didn't talk to me about it.
Star and I were the two who could relate the least to Christopher. The two of us couldn't connect with him as much as the others, and we both said we pitied him. This could show that we're the most sentimental of the group. We think very differently from Christopher, and our judgments or actions are more influenced by our emotions. Asmi was able to relate to Christopher the most. She says she often thinks like him. This shows that she's different from Star and I. She's a person who thinks more logically and her emotions have less influence over her thoughts and actions. Yuto was somewhere in the middle. He could relate to Christopher a little, but not as much as Asmi. Yet, he also said that he wouldn't act in the same way if he were in his place. This could show that Yuto is the most balanced of us. He uses a balance of logic and emotion. Something we all have in common is that we all couldn't connect with him at the beginning as much as we did at the end. This shows that we were all affected by the novel, mainly the protagonist, and we all became more empathetic people by the end of the book.
In conclusion, we all had similar thoughts about Christopher as he's unique and special compared to others like us, because of his personality and of his character. Some of us also found him to be in a weird position, as we felt Christopher was someone we don't really dislike nor like, since he has his own thoughts and sticks to logic. Even though most of us still felt sad or sportive for Christopher, I think that most people would think of Christopher in a similar way as our group did. Being considerate towards Christopher of what he has gone through, as well as feeling unhappy and sorrowful for him.
Thank you.